What's up, world? I'm Cameron McKinney, and this is Pop Culture Spotlight, a podcast about the movie One Battle After Another. Here's a quick synopsis. Bob Ferguson, a member of the revolutionary group the French 75, has been in hiding for 16 years when a figure from his past returns to endanger him and his daughter Willa. The film stars Leonardo Dicaprio, Chase Infiniti, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall, and Teyana Taylor. Standout performances. After the giant success of Titanic made him arguably the biggest movie star in the world, Leonardo DiCaprio used that newfound stardom to work with the best directors around. Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, among others. And now with One Battle After Another, he finally adds Paul Thomas Anderson to that list. And Leo was once in the running to star in Boogie Nights, but chose Titanic instead. And even though I prefer Boogie Nights, I can't blame the actor for that decision. He would not be the star he is today without Titanic. In One Battle After Another, DiCaprio plays Bob Ferguson, who isn't as ambitious as he was in his younger days. He's a worried father and a big pothead. And for me, the most interesting thing about the current state of DiCaprio's acting career is how comedy plays into it. He's a great dramatic actor, but his recent career-defining roles have him playing humorous at times, dim-witted characters. The beyond greedy Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street, semi-washed actor Rick Dalton in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and the overly worried Dr. Mindy in Don't Look Up. Some are calling his work in One Battle After Another the best of his career, and I want to preface what I'm about to say next by stating I believe this is a great performance given by Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm just not at this moment of the belief that it's near the top of his best work. I do think most critics seem fixated on more recent work like The Wolf of Wall Street and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he's beyond great in those movies. But there's recency bias in overlooking the fact that he's been, in my opinion, better in Catch Me If You Can, being a true movie star leading man, better than just about anyone, The Aviator, the film that got him his first ever Oscar nomination, and The Departed, giving the most serious performance in a movie filled with comedic turns. One could argue those are not the best movies of his career, even though I kind of think they are. I understand where you're coming from, but to say they are not the best performances of his career, that I really struggle with. Like, some critics are making it seem like One Battle After Another is the movie that Leonardo DiCaprio is finding himself as an actor. It's like he's been here, guys. He's been a great actor for decades now. Come on. If you said his performance in One Battle After Another is a top 10 Leonardo DiCaprio performance, I think there's a case to be made. Top 5 is a bit of a reach for me, at least after one viewing. And maybe I feel that way because I don't think he's the best in the movie. That honor to me goes to Chase Infiniti, who plays Willa, Bob's daughter, who fully comes to realize the extent of her father's past with her mother. This is built to be her movie. She's given an incredible arc. She's the character that changes the most throughout the film. It's beyond insane that this is her first movie. She goes toe-to-toe with two acting giants in Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn. It's also worth noting that this is the second straight Paul Thomas Anderson movie that features great acting debuts. In Licorice Pizza, he had both Alana Haim and Cooper Hoffman. Infiniti gets better and better as the movie goes on. She is the breakout star of the movie and gives the best performance in One Battle After Another. Sean Penn is a two-time Oscar winner for Mystic River and Milk and has also given performances I think have become underappreciated in Casualties of War, State of Grace, and Carlito's Way. No one, in my humble opinion, plays characters full of rage quite like Sean Penn, and that's one of the many reasons he's the perfect actor for Paul Thomas Anderson. Adam Sandler similarly plays characters who can get uncomfortably angry, and he of course worked with PTA on Punch Drunk Love. The telephone scene between Sandler and Philip Seymour Hoffman puts that anger on full display. In There Will Be Blood, you have Daniel Day-Lewis as Daniel Plainview, another character who is cartoonishly angry at times, especially during his final confrontation with Paul Dano's Eli Sunday. In The Master, you have Philip Seymour Hoffman's Dodd getting irrationally upset when he's questioned, and in Licorice Pizza, you have Bradley Cooper playing infamous producer John Peters, and Penn himself playing an aging actor. See, that film has an over-the-top Sean Penn performance. I think his work in One Battle After Another is far more controlled and subtle. He's pretending to be something he's not. In it, he plays Colonel Stephen Lockjaw, the villain of the movie, who is trying to hide his past so he can join a group full of white supremacists. Penn is getting universal acclaim for this performance, and it is very well deserved. Benicio del Toro is not a movie star in the sense that he's talked about all of the time, and I would say his career ebbs and flows, but when he works in a movie, he really works. His best for me includes Traffic from Steven Soderbergh, where he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, Snatch from Guy Ritchie, both in 2000, Sicario in 2015, where he completely takes over the movie, and The French Dispatch. That section of the movie is the best section of that film. One Battle After Another is Del Toro's second movie with writer-director Paul Thomas Anderson, the first being Inherent Vice alongside Joaquin Phoenix. In One Battle After Another, Del Toro plays Sergio St. Carlos, Willa's karate sensei, who helps Bob track her down. He's able to bring real levity in the movie while also playing a guy who is in full control of what's going on around him. Some of the film's best moments are the ones between him and DiCaprio. He has an incredible moment that I don't want to spoil. You just need to experience it. Del Toro has without a doubt had one of the best years of his career this year between Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme and this film, One Battle After Another. I know Teyana Taylor more from her music than her film work. The only other movie I've seen her in was the remake of White Man Can't Jump, which was not very good. I'm happy to report she's fantastic in One Battle After Another and really carries the early part of the movie, playing Perfidia, this complicated, rebellious character. I would say she carries a lot of the dramatic weight of the movie, while the other characters are more comedic. And finally, Regina Hall is best known for her comedic turns in the Scary Movie franchise and Girls Trip. In One Battle After Another, she plays Deandra, a member of the French 75, who is helping Willa run from Lockjaw. She's a real calming presence of this film. Last thing about this cast. So one of the biggest reasons I was hyped for this movie was to see Leonardo Dicaprio and Sean Penn in the same movie, and they only share one scene. I'm just being honest. I wish there were more, but I understand the reason why there isn't. It makes sense for the movie, how it all plays out. I just selfishly wanted to see two of the best actors of all time go head-to-head with one another. Especially given the fact that this is Paul Thomas Anderson. I mean, he had Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman in The Master. He had Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Dano in There Will Be Blood. Fireworks happen in PTA movies when two legends share the screen. Let's talk about the writer and director of One Battle After Another. Paul Thomas Anderson is one of my favorite directors. He's up there with Steven Spielberg and Christopher Nolan. I do feel like there are many of Anderson's supporters who come out every time he makes a movie and say it's his best work yet. We are talking about the guy who made There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, Magnolia, and The Master. Here's where I'm at with One Battle After Another. If you told me it was his fifth best movie, I might be on board, because that position is between Punch Drunk Love, Phantom Thread, and now this film. I think those three movies are competing for the fifth best Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and I don't mean that as disrespect. And I really don't know if most PTA fans agree with me that his best movie is The Master, but it's also impossible not to argue it's There Will Be Blood, a movie that's been talked about almost every day since 2007. Boogie Nights has been talked about since 1997. Those movies had legs. Give One Battle After Another breathing room before you crown it his best movie. I'm also willing to admit my own personal feelings about One Battle After Another may change over time. Maybe I'll watch it 3 or 4 times and go, wow, this really is his best movie. I think he's too good of a director to just outright announce that his best film is now One Battle After Another. With One Battle After Another, he's finally worked with Leonardo Dicaprio. And it got me thinking about other movie stars I want Anderson to work with, and here's what I came up with. Adam Driver, like Leo, has worked with tons of great directors. I want to see Adam Driver in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. That's a guy who can fit in any kind of movie and can really bring intensity to any role he's playing. Natalie Portman is an actress I think needs to work with more top-tier directors. She cannot end her career without at least one appearance in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I think she could work in a PTA movie the way that Julianne Moore worked in PTA movies like Boogie Nights and Magnolia. Matt Damon is a movie star who is great at playing creeps. I would love for him to do that in a Paul Thomas Anderson film. I could have seen him play Colonel Stephen Lockjaw in a few years. Those are the type of roles that Matt Damon is willing to play. He doesn't always have to be the hero of the movie. And finally, the one that everyone's been talking about for a while now is Denzel Washington, because Washington has that burning intensity that you want to see in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. You could definitely see him giving a career best turn like Daniel Day-Lewis did in There Will Be Blood in a PTA film. Getting back to One Battle After Another, it's far and away Anderson's most accessible movie. His other films are more challenging. Yes, there's a lot of thought-provoking themes in the narrative, but the heartbeat of this film is a father-daughter relationship with a backdrop of an action movie with car chases. The pacing also makes the movie endlessly entertaining. It's a straightforward plot. I do appreciate the fact that he was able to do something different while still maintaining the thing that makes him Paul Thomas Anderson, but he has done this before in other genres. With Punch Drunk Love, he made his version of an Adam Sandler comedy. With Phantom Thread, he made his version of a romantic film. And with One Battle After Another, he's making his action movie. Box office. There's been a ton of talk about how this will fare at theaters. It's the most costly Paul Thomas Anderson movie, reportedly north of $130 million. It stars Leonardo Dicaprio, a more than bankable star. Opening weekend, it made $21 million in the US and $26 million worldwide for a total of $48 million. It's likely going to become PTA's highest grossing film, but I don't think it will end up being viewed as a major hit, and maybe that doesn't matter at all. I just root for the movie's success because I want Paul Thomas Anderson to be given whatever budget he wants for his next movies. The lack of box office success just has something to do with the fact that Paul Thomas Anderson is not a mainstream director the way that Jordan Peele is, the way that Christopher Nolan is, the way that Greta Gerwig is, and the way that Ryan Coogler is. I mean, those directors sold their movies. People went to the movie theaters in bunches to see their films because of those names, but those people have made hits before. Yes, to cinephiles, Paul Thomas Anderson is a big name, but to the average moviegoer, he is not. Oscar chances. One Battle After Another is going to get all of the obvious nominations. Paul Thomas Anderson is going to get nominated for Best Director and for the screenplay. Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be nominated for Best Actor. Sean Penn for Best Supporting Actor. I also think it could get some surprising nominations. I would love to see Chase Infiniti and Teyana Taylor get Best Supporting Actress nominations. Benicio del Toro get a Best Supporting Actor nom as as well. It's way too early to tell if this movie is going to win Best Picture. I would love to see it, even if I don't think it's the best movie of the year. It's far better than most movies that end up winning this award. I do like the idea of the Oscars finally crowning directors who should have won a long time ago. I mean, with Oppenheimer, they did it with Christopher Nolan, and with One Battle After Another, they might end up doing it with Paul Thomas Anderson. But honestly, we're talking about a guy in Anderson who should have won numerous Oscars by now. 2 at least. I don't know how I would feel if this was Leonardo DiCaprio's second Oscar win. I think it should have been Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's better in that movie. But again, I don't know what the competition is going to be like. I know right now, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is trying to join the Oscar conversation with The Smashing Machine. Jeremy Allen White is, of course, playing Bruce Springsteen, and then you have Timothée Chalamet in the upcoming Marty Supreme. So I don't know. It's possible that at the end of the day, Leonardo DiCaprio does end up winning his second career Oscar. I did think Sean Penn was out of the business of winning the Oscar, but it's quite likely he's going to win for a third time, the first time for a supporting performance. Right now, he's the clear favorite. I know many people love what Benicio del Toro is doing in this movie as well, but it feels like the clear consensus is Sean Penn is going to take home an Oscar. But things could change. I mean, we're talking the very first week of this movie. It's being treated as a huge celebration of a filmmaker's career. Detractors will emerge out of nowhere. Other movies will come out, and if there's a movie that is a bigger hit at the box office, it might succeed this movie as the favorite to win Best Picture. Indie movies also do come out of nowhere. I mean, Anora was the movie that won Best Picture at last year's Oscars. I mean, I don't really know what the full competition is going to be for Best Picture. Would I be surprised if One Battle After Another wins Best Picture? Absolutely not. It's made by one of the best directors working today, and it is simply one of the best movies of 2025. But the first response from the first week of the movie's release does not dictate whether or not this film is going to win Best Picture. Right now, again, this is being viewed as a huge victory for Anderson, but there are so many more movies to come, and conversations about this movie as well will continue. The thing that's really hard to quantify is the fact that Paul Thomas Anderson supporters are the loudest people in the room. They are going to make you believe this is the movie that's going to get him an Oscar win. And I want to believe that. I want Paul Thomas Anderson to at least win for this film's screenplay and possibly Best Director as well. Although, again, I haven't seen all of the movies. Right now, he would be my favorite in both of those categories. But it's way too early on to call this movie a sure thing. Overall, One Battle After Another is already a great movie in my eyes. It's a movie I want to see again. Anderson is the type of filmmaker who makes movies that gets better and better the more you watch them. That's why The Master is my favorite of his movies, because it's such a deep movie. It's such a complicated movie. There's always something new you gain from watching it. That's also what's so great about There Will Be Blood. And I'm interested to see if I see those same things in One Battle After Another. I'm sure I'm going to, because that's who Paul Thomas Anderson is as a filmmaker. Give him the budget, have him make an action movie, and it's still going to feel like a signature work from Paul Thomas Anderson. And no auteur director quite mixes comedy and drama quite like Anderson. I mean, a lot of people still view There Will Be Blood as one of the funniest movies they've ever seen. And there are some humorous moments in The Master as well. One Battle After Another was far more of an action comedy than I expected it to be, and that's a good thing. I, like many people, waited a long time to finally see Leonardo DiCaprio work with Paul Thomas Anderson, and this movie was well worth worth the wait. Thanks for listening to this edition of Pop Culture Spotlight. I'm Cameron McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Thursday on Apple Podcast and Spotify. I highly recommend you check out the film One Battle After Another. Next week on the podcast, I'm talking about Play Dirty from writer-director Shane Black, starring Mark Wahlberg. So tune into that, and please rate, review, and subscribe.